Life Audio. Welcome to today's Crosswalk Devotional. We are so glad to have you listening here with us today. Today's topic is saying no to fear and yes to God. We will return after this brief message from our sponsors. Saying No to Fear and Yes to God. Written by Aaron D. Anthony Brown. Read by Rochelle Alberti. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. The fear that binds us. Have you ever wanted more for someone so much that you wish you could, through some superpower, control them and guide them towards something better? A better relationship, a better job, a better future. If that's just me, then perhaps that's my selfishness showing. Nonetheless, I do have a relative I care for dearly, one who didn't go back to school in January because she said college wasn't for her. Instead, she was going to work. But here she is, 8 months later, doing nothing. She's at home day in and day out. Why? She says social anxiety holds her back. Despite being young, capable, and very talented, a fear of the unknown holds her back from a job, and worse, from a future. Whether she's afraid of what people might say or do, I don't know. But she doesn't want me to criticize her. She doesn't want criticism from anyone on the matter. I could easily look down on her behavior and the parents who enable it, and often I do. But her fear reminds me of what I encounter from others too. A fear I have experienced even within myself. For one reason or another, we all find fears to justify. We tell ourselves not to apply for certain opportunities. We decide not to have important conversations. We keep ourselves from making what would ultimately be beneficial decisions. The Bible mentions fear dozens of times from beginning to end. If you're no stranger to Scripture, then you know that the Israelites often gave in to this emotion. They thought God abandoned them, they would succumb to their enemies, that the Lord would let them go hungry, and more. For each fear, they had what they felt were ostensibly valid reasons. Like them, we too find reasons to doubt God in our own lives. What's crazy is that our reasons seem so real and logical to us. Yet those who hear about the fear often disagree. The same applies when the roles are reversed. We hear someone tell us why they are afraid, and we can't help but think that their perspective is limited, that they just aren't taking into account the omnipotence of God. So how exactly we break free of the fear that binds us? Just as the Israelites provide an example of why we fear in the first place, we can also look at them and discover ways to break free from fear by finding confidence in God. Intersecting faith and life. If fear is slavery, then confidence in God brings us freedom. Here are 3 ways we can defeat our fears today. Defeat fear through prayer. When we're afraid, complaining and grumbling against God aren't too difficult to manage. The Israelites did their fair share of complaining too, which greatly displeased God. But let's be honest, how often do we do the same? Instead of dwelling on the negative thoughts, we benefit ourselves and bring honor to God by choosing to pray instead. Submit yourself to Him, seek His strength, and watch as the fear eventually fades away. Defeat fear through community. When the Israelites constructed a golden calf to replace God, they were sinning as a community. When they chose to honor God through song, sacrifice, and ceremony, they were honoring God as a community. When we link up with other people, we can find ourselves doing bad things, worse than we would otherwise. But when we link up and our hearts are centered on God, the opposite is true. We honor Him and strive for more virtue than would be possible alone. Moreover, we find the motivation and accountability to overcome the fear that so easily ensnares us. Defeat through reminders. One reason fear is such a common theme in the Bible is that fear is so basic to the human experience. All the way from Adam hiding in the garden to the various things we hide from today. Yet just as commonplace as the scary things seem to be, we can make finding godly confidence commonplace too. We do that by giving ourselves reminders of God's work in our lives. When the Israelites needed to be reminded of God, and when they wanted to pray, they could go to the tabernacle. We can view the church in a similar fashion, but we can also find for ourselves other reminders. Some people post scriptures to their wall or mirror to help them overcome fears. Some people make a daily plan to read scripture or journal. The what is not as important as the why. Whatever you do it ultimately to say no to fear and yes to God. Further reading. 2 Timothy 1:7. Psalm 34:4. Proverbs 29:25.
The Crosswalk Devotional is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.